Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It's Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, June 14th, Flag Day. Here in the United States, we're getting ready for the stock market to open up in 1 minute on a huge day out here in the markets. Today is Fed Day. It's expected that the Federal Reserve is going to pause their interest rate hiking cycle today. Coming off the day of the Hinman emails over there in the Ripple and SEC lawsuit. A lot of stuff there. We can maybe briefly talk over a couple of things over there on that. We've seen volatility in XRP, kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news type event happening there for XRP. We got Bitcoin just kind of chilling in here with the cruel summer just continuing on, and interesting things going on over there in the stock market with the locations of where they're at. So we'll dive into all of that stuff today. But of course, it's the best day of the week. We're halfway through.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, dudes.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are halfway through the week. If it's your first time to tune in on a Wednesday, we actually just have a good time here on Wednesday. We made it halfway, dude. Just time to have a good time. But let's go ahead and take a look at the markets because today actually is a very big day. So the stock market just opened. We'll take a peek at that today. As we all know, the Fed has been in a hiking cycle and raised over 5% in the last year. And it's anticipated today that they will pause. So we'll pull up the CME Fed Watch here. 93% when I checked just a little while ago. 97.7% chance the Fed is pausing today. It is the end of the aggressive hike cycle, which means we have had 3 rate hikes this year. That's 0.75%, which is what they did communicate at the end of 2022 is what we should anticipate here in 2023. So let's just kind of run through the markets really quick. We'll talk about Bitcoin really fast because there's not a whole lot to say. We're in the cruel summer. If you guys remember, we've talked about this a lot. The volume profile gap that's been there. And it was anticipated that we would have to close out that volume profile and just run sideways through it for quite some time. And really, that's just kind of what we've actually been doing here since early May. So we're going on a little over a month now running through this thing, filling out the volume profile in here. Until something different changes, we can talk about that, but that was kind of the idea up until this point. Now it's just kind of waiting for us to get through the summer here at this point. As for XRP, this is the big one, right? Let's talk about this thing. Yesterday, we get the release of the Hinman emails. Price pops up immediately. It gets through the retracement level, right? And it hangs out there for about an hour. I didn't even hang out there in an hour. Yeah, I hung out there about an hour and then immediately turned over on itself. And the things that I would find concerning about that particular price action is I've often taught about volume analysis. And when you're looking for reversals to end up showing up is what type of volume you see. So you kind of like run through your head of what event did we have happening here? What did we have going on through the end of May up until this point? We had an anticipated particular date, right? We had all had a date we were waiting for an event, waiting for news to see if we could get some surprising news. And we end up getting our news, and we conducted a poll here in the chat yesterday and said, did you find the Hinman emails to be shocking? What was the language that Brad used? He said, you will find it shocking. You'll be shocked by the shamefulness of their behavior, right? That's what his words were. You will be shocked by the shamefulness of their behavior. And with the information that we got from the emails and what we saw and the way they behaved, we asked the chat, were you shocked by the shamefulness of their behavior? 87% of respondents here in the chat said no. it was in line with my expectations. 13% said yes, it was shocking. I conducted the same poll over there on Twitter. Right now, that poll has 9,384 respondents. So the poll that was conducted in chat yesterday had 800 respondents. This one has 9,300. Were you shocked by the SEC's behavior and what you saw in the Bill Hinman emails? 84.4% said no, it's what I expected. 15.6% said yes, I'm shocked. So you have to say to yourself, was there any type of news that came out of this event that was out of line with expectations to say that the market was mispriced, that the market had not priced in what it expected? And the amazing thing is you could say the market priced in its exact expectations. No one was shocked. So you'll see, I see a lot of spinning out there to make it be like this is a really big deal of what happened. But I think, and I did a Twitter space last night, wanted to give credit to the XRP community that they've done such a good job pulling everything out of the shadows, that everybody was kind of already educated that this is what it was going to be. If anybody was living in complete denial that any of this could ever be possible, maybe that was shocking to them. But for the XRP community, it was like 84%. This is exactly what I thought was going to be in here, or something along these lines. But there was nothing shocking, right? There was nothing shockingly about their shameful behavior to go beyond that. So what we saw is right when the emails came out, we saw price move up. And the concern I would have about XRP is a failed breakout, right? But the other thing is the amount of volume that we had of selling, the activity that came in here. To put into context how much selling actually happened on the Sell the News event, we can look at the last 3 times we had big 4-hour candles of high volume, right? So here is yesterday. That's how much volume came in here. So we can flip on the info bar here. Just over here on Binance with XRP UST, 305 million. If we look back to these last two, this one right here is when the whole market sells off last Monday, when the SEC sues Binance and the whole market sells off and goes crazy. There is your volume for that. For Friday night, where in the middle of the night, mass liquidations took place in this market, and over $400 million was liquidated in 15 minutes. We all woke up Saturday morning kind of like, oh my gosh, I had a video I've already had released at 7 a.m. because I was up at 2:30 being like, whoa, and running and creating a video about it because there was so much volume happening out there. That's how much volume we have on XRP during the mass liquidation event. We have even more selling volume happening in here than a mass liquidation event and doing Binance getting sued by the SEC and the whole market broadly selling off. That's typical reversal volume. That's typically what you see at peaks where your price shoots up and it's rejected back with super big volume, to be concerned of a reversal taking place right here. So that is something I'm cautious about. Did we only break because of news and then there's just no follow through and practically immediate reversal volume? Bigger. This isn't even cascading liquidation volume. This is just somebody sold. There was somebody there ready to mass sell. This is not like your liquidations. This was ready to go, ready to rock, ready to crush it and kill it. And they did. So that's a caution on whether or not this thing is anywhere ready to get going. You don't want to see that type of reversal. You just don't want to see that with that kind of volume. It's typically not good. Look back over here, right? You can see this reversal over here. Notice it comes off of high volume, right? So you have higher buyer volume followed by higher sell volume. So just something to keep in mind. We can have these higher volume things happen, but the fact that it happens there, and the other things I kind of take into consideration at this point is that it was such a news event, right? There was a particular date. Everybody's looking forward to that date. We get to the date. The market is not surprised. You got to remember that. 84% not surprised. We can spin it. We can make YouTube videos. We can paint it in whatever light we want. But the reality is the polls tell us the market was not surprised. It was in line with expectations, right? And we can say, no, but you have to understand this one little key critical detail that happened in there is important. And I think one thing that I see constantly shown over there as being the big smoking gun is this Exhibit 220. I see it over there over Twitter constantly. And this is being completely misrepresented. And if you go in here, you will see to and from are completely blocked out. It says Howie analysis of XRP. And the way this is being painted is if you go through this, it paints XRP is not a security in every way. It's the most beautifully written. XRP is not a security at all. And you'll see people quoting this, posting this all over Twitter. Let's see if we can find a good quote in here. XRP is not promoted as an investment of money. An investment in XRP does not rely upon a common enterprise. XRP is designed to have consumptive use, not generate profits. XRP owners do not rely upon the entrepreneurial and managerial efforts of others. And then based on the analysis above and subject to the qualifications and assumptions set forth herein, we believe as of the date of this memorandum that you have reasonable grounds to conclude that XRP does not satisfy all elements of the Howey test and therefore is not a security for purposes of the federal securities law. And so what you are seeing is you are seeing many people misrepresent this document, this Exhibit 220, as that this is the SEC writing this. You can go through this and use half of a brain to recognize there's a reason why these are blocked out. You can't see who it is. And that this is a lawyer firm. This is somebody pitching to the SEC that you should not declare XRP a security. And that this is not the SEC writing this. This is someone sending this to the SEC to convince them XRP is not a security. Based on the above analysis and subject to the qualifications and assumptions set forth herein, we believe as of the date of this memorandum that you have reasonable grounds to not conclude that XRP does not satisfy. To conclude XRP does not satisfy the elements. This is not from the SEC, right? This is from somewhere else. And even my first read through, I immediately knew that. And then John Deaton chimes in and says it. All the other lawyers are chiming in saying it, but you're seeing it spread all over Twitter as if this is the SEC writing this. So just be careful out there. Exhibit 220A being misrepresented as that there was the smoking gun in here. This is the SEC writing this memorandum. Very clear. It is not. It is someone pitching it to the SEC that XRP is not a security. And you can read through this and see how wonderfully, beautifully it paints Ripple and how wonderfully, beautifully it paints XRP and how inconsistent that is with XRP behavior to recognize this as someone giving a sales pitch to the SEC. So careful on that. But otherwise, this thing, yikes, man, that we'll need to let this thing calm down. But I don't like that hard of a rejection, a sell the news event. There was nothing surprising that came out. You convince me otherwise, it's fine. But if we had the big smoking gun yesterday that would have shocked the market, we would have saw it yesterday, right? It would have came out. We all would have been screaming. We say, well, you have to think about it in this manner and then interpret it this way and what it actually means for a long term of crypto. I understand all of those things. But there wasn't something that said the market mispriced the event, right? And the selling that came out of there was extraordinary. So need to let this thing settle down. But it seems like we had a FOMO buy of the news release, and then somebody was there. The way it is, somebody was there to sell it with extremely high volume. So careful out there. All right. As for the stock market, this is the big one today. Coinbase up, United Health down. Okay. I already know that's a bad sign right there with what we're looking at. You see United Health down 8% right there. Have you guys heard us talk about United Health? United Health is the biggest contributor to the United States stock market. It is the biggest one in there. Wowzers. I've often speculated, even here Markets in the Morning many times, the day United Health goes is the day the Dow Jones goes. That's a big move that just happened over there on United Health. Let's do this. Dow Jones working back to retracement levels still, but underneath them. I think the biggest one of them all The one that is the craziest of them all. And everybody should ask themselves, do you believe you live in a simulation? Do you believe it? That you'd go through all of this, and this is where you'd land with the NASDAQ, and on the day of the NASDAQ getting back to the 702, which we predicted like 8 months ago, that it would be when we're at the 702, the Fed will pause or reverse course, that they're literally doing it at that moment. It's shocking. But that's the reality of where we're at. So all those people who said don't fight the Fed, they're now going to FOMO back into the markets as the Fed pause, which I think half of them are lying. They've been FOMOing, and regardless, just preaching a different message. Just like all the people who were saying they were going to wait for 10 to 12K for Bitcoin, I'm sure sent money to Ben.eth, and I'm sure lost a ton on meme coins. It's just whatever the flavor of the moment is. But yeah, here we are. We're back there on Fed Day. Truly astonishing. As for the dollar working its way back down. We watched the rollover happen on the daily time frame in there. We pretty much saw it. All right. So, yep, dollar's working down. Big question, what happens between that 99 and 100 price level for the dollar? The big thing coming out today is going to be the interest rate decision. And that interest rate decision is going to be coming at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we will be live streaming that moment. We will live stream the rate decision, and then we will live stream Jerome Powell. Sometimes we catch some crazy price action happening. If there's a chance for there to be some crazy price action happening, a day of the Fed pausing would be certainly a day. So we will live stream that. That will start probably about 5 minutes prior to the release of the FOMC statement. So at about 1:55 p.m. Eastern time is when we will start live streaming that. The way that works is we watch the markets as it releases the data. We watch the volatility happen. I run my mouth, I run my yapper for about a half an hour until Jerome Powell comes on. Then I shush my mouth, go silent, and we just watch Jerome Powell speak down here on the left side of the screen. And then we have the charts going on in the background over there. So that'll be today at 1:55 p.m. We'll begin that. And we're going to see what happens, because we got it market priced 97.7% chance that the Fed is going to pause today, as the NASDAQ's at the 702 Fibonacci retracement. You know, everything you think you know is pre-programmed. It's just crazy. It's insane. All right, so here we go. We'll be keeping an eye on this page whenever the statement gets released. So we'll get our statement in here. We'll read what the Fed has to say. We don't talk about the overnight repo much over here. My last newsletter really talked about this. So concerns, going on with the stock market is, obviously we're getting into retracement levels. We're getting there for the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well. And that the perception of retail investors was that we're getting all the events perfectly happening, right? So what are the things that are happening right here at this retracement level that retail investors love to see? What do they love? They want to hear they want to hear a money printer go brr, right? It's the meme culture of social media finance. And the money printer go burr is associated with Fed pausing, Fed cutting, which is incorrect, right? They're always looking for the Fed cut, but we've proven on this channel that a cutting of rates is actually always signal terror. If they actually do a 25 basis point rate cut, that's the first early sign of really bad things are actually coming. To start taking stuff off the table at that point, whenever they're doing a 25 basis point rate cut. But a pause is totally fine. But the big misconception I saw over there on Twitter so much is when the United States government raised the debt ceiling last week, right? Or the week prior to that. Again, we're getting the debt ceiling raised here at the retracement levels. We're getting the Fed pausing the interest rate hiking cycle here at the retracement levels. But that the concern here, right, is how do we break out of here, right? So you see everybody posting Jerome Powell, money printer go burr when the debt ceiling gets lifted, but a misinterpretation of what it means to raise the debt ceiling. And that really what the debt ceiling being raised is that they're issuing a bunch of treasuries, right? So the money to buy all these treasuries and to loan the government money so they can take on debt, it's got to come from somewhere, right? Someone has to provide them with that money in order to have that debt, right? So where is it going to come from? Is it going to come from you and me? I mean, a little bit. I'd like to buy some treasuries here and there. I'm cool with sitting on some 4, 5, 5.5% stuff chilling that would otherwise be sitting in my bank account. Otherwise, it's going to become like from banks, right? But if it's coming from banks, they're not going to be lending out money, and they're not going to be stimulating the economy. And the problem is that they've already exposed themselves too much to treasuries in these past years. We've watched the banking crises unfold, that they have so many treasuries sitting on their balance sheets that have lost value. So are they already overexposed to it? And again, if the banks don't have the money, or if they do invest in these treasuries, are they not going to be investing in stock markets, right? So the problem is when all of these treasuries hit the market, they're going to pull money from somewhere. They're going to pull it from retail. They're going to pull it from banks. And we've already seen foreign investment in treasuries is declining massively. So it's not coming from foreigners. So it is going to come from the banks, or it's going to come from retail, it's going to come from the stock market. That's where all that liquidity is going to pull from. The only other place to really look for is to look in what money printer go burr really means is if the Fed is going to buy it. Is the Fed going to be the one to buy all the treasury debt? And they've indicated they're not planning on it. Now, if they come out today in this meeting and say, we're going to buy all that debt, holy cow, yeah, that is bullish. That's awesome. I will be hooting and hollering. But they're not indicating that they are, and their balance sheet is reducing. So if they're not going to be the ones to do it, then it's going to come from the stock market. It's going to come from retail. It's going to come from banks. It's just in general, it's bad for the stock market. But there is one other place it could come from. It's the overnight reverse repurchase facility over at the Fed. So I've explained this really well in detail in my newsletter. Let me see if I can explain it here. But when banks put their money into treasuries, what has happened to them? They've gotten exposed to, like, let's say they buy a, let's see what these are. Hold on. Let me see what the current rates are. Let's say they buy a 2-year, right? Let's give them something better than that. Let's give them a 1 year, right? They're going to buy a 1 year at 5.22%, right? But then, like, what happens with the Fed was, like, it's only been 1 year. Like, 1 year ago, sorry, half of you guys aren't going to care about this, but whatever we're talking about. Go back a year. Here we are in June of 2022. We're at 1.19%. And now the federal funds rate's over 5%. So these treasury yields, let's go look at the 2-year. Right, it's gone from 2.5%. No, we're looking at the 1 year, sorry. 1 year. Here, June. All right, it's gone from 2% to 5.22%. So, like, if you go buy if you buy a $1,000 government bond right now, right, it's going to cost you like $948, right? But when they bought them back here at 2%, they had to pay $980. So they buy their bond for $980 here, but the bond is only worth $945 right here. So they got hurt by this, by it going up. And the hiking cycle has just continued and continued. And there's been no incentive for banks to invest in these treasuries because, as we can see, they're all getting absolutely wrecked and hammered by them. But the Fed has a overnight reverse repo facility where they can park their money and where they're not going to get that 5.22%, but they'll get like 5.05%, slightly less than the 1 year. And wherever the Fed rate goes, it follows along with it. So they're not stuck in it and they can pull their money out. So something has to, and the fact is there's 2.1, we've gone down a little bit. Very nice. So there's a little over $2 trillion that sits over here, right? Just parked over here at the Fed. And there has to be a way where this money, this $2 trillion, floods out of the Fed and goes into these treasuries and gets into the United States government's hands to fund their debt. And so long as that is what happens, then we don't have money being pulled out of the stock market, worrying about equity markets. We don't have the banks having to be the ones to fund it. This is money that already wants to be sitting in low risk. And it's just parked at the Fed because the Fed's been doing all these hiking cycles and these banks are getting wrecked and these treasuries rising. But there's no incentive to sit in here if this is going to decline, or if, maybe even if it goes flat. Because if you're going to go into decline in here on the federal funds rate, which is what is, when we see the federal funds rate, that's what the overnight repurchase agreement rate is. So if there's going to be a decline in that, then the incentive is to run over and lock in a higher rate in a treasury. So to get that money to flood out, if this money does flood out of here and it's the one that goes to the treasury and not money from the stock market or money from the banks or money from retail investors, it would just be a whole lot better. So it's something that I wrote about in my newsletter at the end of May. And we don't have a huge data point to look at in here, but we do see at least since May, we were sitting here at 2.2 trillion and then now when I wrote that newsletter, we're at 2.54 trillion, and still it has been continuing downwards 2.074. So hopefully we see a bigger break happen in this and something obvious shows up here in the reverse repo market, that they're not wanting to park their money over at the Fed, and that this $2 trillion, just so happens to be $2 trillion, about the amount that the Treasury needs, is the thing that goes and flies into them. And so like we were talking about money printer go burr, the Fed, well, this isn't the Fed's money. This would be money that could pay for it, but it also wouldn't be the Fed printing technically, right? The interesting thing about the concept, though, here is the Fed is practically in control of this $2 trillion that the bank has parked in here, that they're leaving at the Fed rather than buying treasuries, that they kind of have the decision on what to do with it. If you really think about it, they can influence this money to leave. Just a mere drop in an interest rate to decentivize parking the money here versus putting it into treasuries, that's kind of all in their court, all in their hands. But this is the big thing to be paying attention to. And I've talked with TXMC about this stuff too. And those are his thoughts. Keeping an eye on this 2 trillion over here to make sure it's the thing that is going to feed all that treasury debt, and that it is not going to be our stock market that is the thing that feeds it, and not our banking system that feeds it, or else it's going to dry liquidity up big time. So, all right, little topic there on Fed Day is we have a 97% chance of pause. 95 now. 95. All right, moving over to news. Boy, I've been going for a while. I'm at 28 minutes. I actually have to keep this stream a little bit shorter today because I am going to be on a live stream with these guys. Good Morning Crypto Show, 3T Warrior Academy. I'll be with these guys in about an hour from right now. So I have to do a little bit of show prep before I go do that. 3T Warrior Academy, that'll be in 1 hour from right now. Busy day for me, because then after that's done, I'll have lunch and then I'll come back to you guys again and we'll be doing the big Fed Day. All right, let's see what you have to say, CNBC. Here's everything the Federal Reserve is expected to do Wednesday. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday is expected to take a break and skip another interest rate hike. Skip another? I mean, like the first. Following its two-day meeting, the central bank will release a statement along with economic and rate projections. Chairman Jerome Powell then will hold a news conference where he expected to take a cautious tone and not rule out future increases. I don't think he can. I don't think he may have that rhetoric, but I don't know. I don't think he can go any higher than where he's at. He's above the inflation rate. Yeah. On the heels of a 10-meeting streak of raising interest rates, the Federal Reserve on Wednesday is expected to take a break and let the U.S. economy catch its breath. Markets are pricing in a high probability that the central bank policymakers will skip, an expression they generally prefer to pause at this month's meeting as they digest the impact. I swear, man, I think CNBC is just an arm of the government, man. They're an arm of the SEC and the Fed. All right, that doesn't mean this will be the end of the hikes. It just means that with the pace of inflation waning, officials could feel this is a good time to evaluate. Okay, they've got things set up for a pause. Yep, we're at 5.2, between 5 and 5.25. CPI came in yesterday. Inflation's cooling, especially once we get the next one. Yep. Cool. Fed set to pause, but don't count out a July increase. Sure seems like we're getting that repetitive narrative, huh? They don't want everybody to panic, I guess maybe even panic or celebrate or anything on it. It seems to be the consistent marketing message from financial media to tame it. This is nothing more than just skipping one. Don't think it's anything more than that. Baloney. All right. Bitcoin traders await Fed decision. Judge rebuffs SEC request for Binance US asset freeze now. Yep. So I guess the judge ruled in favor of Binance. That no, SEC cannot freeze their assets. Okay. Crypto industry is destined to be Bitcoin focused after SEC actions. MicroStrategy founder Michael Saylor. Yeah, of course you would say that, Michael Saylor. Mark my words, that dude will sell all his Bitcoin at $40,000. And he's not the CEO because it's going to be done by the new CEO and it was out of his control. It'll happen. I don't see anything great here. All right. Ripple's Alderati calls for probe into Bill Hinman and his infamous speech. Yeah. I see a lot of people, I get it, right? They want justice against Bill Hinman, but there's a lot of focus on that. I just don't think we got what we were looking for, so everybody's kind of rediverting their attention towards anger at Bill Hinman. Bill Hinman. It's not gonna, you can seek revenge all you want. It's not gonna impact your life. We got to find things that'll impact and improve our current circumstances. And direction probably need to be pointed more at, Congress probably, but Amazon Web Services experiences outages in the U.S., but Ethereum kept on humming. Alderati calls for probe into Hinman. SEC and Binance US to negotiate a deal to avoid total asset freeze. SEC asked for more time to respond to Coinbase call for crypto clarity. They asked to be given 4 months. We'll check that one out real quick. So if you're going to load, okay. The securities regulator says it would make a recommendation with 120 days on Coinbase's rulemaking request, but adds that the action has no merit, so delay. The United States SEC has asked for 4 months to provide a response to Coinbase requests. And a letter submitted to the U.S. Court of Appeals, Third Circuit Security. Oh my gosh. Okay. You said that 4 times already. Okay. There's literally nothing in this article. Okay. Essentially, the SEC said, yeah, we'll respond in 4 months, which they won't. All right. Why is crypto market down today? Most views. That's what everybody wants to know. Is the crypto market even down today? No. I guess it's halfway, right? Bitcoin's up about 0.25%. Altcoin market's up about 0.1%. there you go. If you missed it, we already ran through XRP this morning. We talked all about that, so you can rewind it. That's going to be within the first 10 minutes. We got a high volume rejection reversal that came out of there on a sell the news event. As for the dollar falling, I think we've pretty much covered the big stuff today, right? So the cruel summer rages on, expected to continue raging on. XRP, quick breakout on the release of the news, followed by massive sell the news rejection volume, bigger than the liquidations that took place back on Friday night. We had more volume than liquidation volume, and more volume than the Binance and SEC debacle, where the whole market sold off last Monday. So that's a good sign. That's typically what happens at reversals. So cautious out there. As for the broader markets, the big thing today is the Fed, right? So this is the big moment. Waiting. How long have we been in this? A year and a half. The day we're at the 702 retracement, the Fed is going to pause. You live in a simulation. You think that you're in control, and all these decisions you make are all important. And you don't even realize the whole script's been written before you were ever born. If you don't get it, man, if you don't get it, like why I'm a little crazy on the whole magical unicorn fairy dust puppet masters pulling the puppet strings god or simulation. I think you all just kind of watched all that happen together, and that the pause is going to happen today at that moment. Imagine how bizarre that has to be, and how bizarre it has to be at the magical little 702 weird number that blockchain backer talks about all the time, and in the intro and all that stuff. It's just like this little trappy fib level that is hidden in there, that if you just add it, there's nothing magical about 702 outside of it being the halfway point between these two. It's a halfway between 618, it's halfway between 786. It's not some magical formulation. It's called divide in two. You get the middle point, and that's it. How reactionary it is right there. So all right, I've got a big morning ahead of me. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the chat. We're going to try to run through the chat as fast as possible, which I'm horrible at. So if there's a lot of like, hey, go over this altcoin, go over that altcoin, we're probably going to avoid that today, guys. I'm going to have to continue moving forward just because in 55 minutes, I'm going to be over there in 3T Warrior Academy on the Good Morning Crypto Show. And I got to do a little bit of show prep before I go on. Then we'll have probably a couple of hours together this afternoon. So the live stream of the Fed, that will start at 1:55 p.m. Eastern time. And then we'll catch the rate hike happening. We'll see how markets respond in that moment. And then for the next 30 minutes, we'll just ramble and talk about random stuff. We'll just hang out in the chat for a half an hour until Jerome Powell steps up on stage. Then I'll shush up, and we'll watch the charts, and we'll watch Jerome Powell at the same time and see how the markets react to a Fed pause live. Typically, we keep Bitcoin up, and we keep the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the stock market, up on the screen at the same time we will watch Jerome Powell. And it's usually a pretty good time. A lot of trash talking that goes on in the chat during those, so they're pretty fun. But all right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm hopping into the chat right now. If you could, please hit the like button. We're at 592 with 1,979 people watching. Let's get it. I appreciate it, guys. Number one way to support the channel. All right. Hopping into the chat. Oscar Hernandez, right out the gates, man. Every single day, brother. Thank you so much with the super chat saying keep it up. Wait a minute. Before we jump in here, and I'm going to give credit to Andy Philpott, because if I didn't see that, I would have just kept on going, living my life, not caring about anything in the world.
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday,
Let's go. My wife said that I said that all the time when we were in Las Vegas. She'd be walking down the street and she'd be like, let's go. All right. Andy Philpott says, happy Wednesday, my dude. Get out of here and hit the stratosphere Frog, frog, frog. Happy Wednesday, my dudes. Parakeet in the chat says, long or short? What's your point of view on Bitcoin? you don't tune in very often, Parakeet. You sound like you just need a random trade thrown at you with no time frame, no nothing, and you haven't watched any of this at any point, buddy. You're going to have to go back. You're going to have to look for a trade caller on YouTube if you need something like that. Otherwise, you can get my perspective and how I've viewed the market for the last couple of months, and you can tell where we're at. But if you need a trade call to short or long right here, you need a different YouTube channel, buddy. Peace. All right. There it is. Crypto Spiritual, very first ever super chat. And I have been rambling my mouth, but my eyes did catch it with you guys saying it over there in the chat. Happy Wednesday, my dude. Also, congrats on reaching 1,000 videos on YouTube. Haven't been here for all of it, but I'll be here for the rest. 1,000, man. I didn't even know that was today. If you would have asked me, I thought it was still a couple of weeks ago. Oh, it's a couple of weeks away. Holy cow, man. That's a lot of editing. Wouldn't change it for the world, though, dude. It's crazy. I love it. I can't believe it. Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Eric. I see you in the chat, brother. And XRP Monkey, 1,000th video. Congrats. I've watched at least 999. Unreal, man. Yep. Bulls and bears. Chaos and collapses to meteoric rises. We go through it all. Or in some cases, a lot. The vast majority of one of those 1,000 videos. We're in crud like that. we're in this, right? That's what the majority of them are. But you know, in the end, over the course of 1,000 videos, what do we get? You know, you get all the crazy that comes along with all of it and all the wild times, dude. Man, yeah. It's weird. You just don't think of that, you know. And I got my little YouTube silver play button hanging up behind me. You know, when you hit 100,000. You don't think you're gonna, you never think you're gonna get there, and man, 1,000. Okay, all right, that's a lot to take in. All right, thank you very much, Crypto Spiritual. Hands loaded, new member, welcome, man. Chris Perez Tears says, you mentioned you could see a scenario that XRP goes to $5 for 1 year, then goes to $20. Can you please expand on that? Are you simply using the fractal? No, I'm not using fractal. I'm using measurements of an Elliott wave contracting triangle. In which that's the way you measure it, but I'm not doing price predictions on XRP just yet. It's like, that's the problem. If you even like in passing mention something like that, you're not even the first one, unless it was you last time, who donates and say, hey, I need you to expand on that. I'm not there yet. 10 to 13 is still my number. It's where I'm sticking to it. If we ever get a big breakout in XRP beyond that, I'll present that argument. But when we're back at retracement levels like this and we're dealing with this stuff, there's certain times where I'm like, okay with being like, let's talk about upside stuff. This is all sketchy retracement price action. And I know how a lot of you guys behave. And it's the law of large numbers. It's if you hear a number, you're going to say, well, it doesn't matter if I buy here or if I buy here, if we're going to $10, right? You don't do any of the math. You don't realize the difference between here and the difference between here is 2 times the amount of money. And majority of participants in this market, the way they behave is once prices pull back, they sell lower to buy lower, then they get wrecked the other way once again. So I might be willing to talk about those types of things. If we fall back or if we get some convincing breakout, I'll present it. But still, 10 to 13 is the number I'm sticking at. It's a 4.236 extension on the market cap. It catches Ethereum. If Ethereum's like taking off and going crazy or something like that at the same time, then okay, maybe we'll talk about it. But yeah, so it requires an understanding of Elliott waves. So Elliott waves are classics. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, ABCs. But typically in a wave 4, an Elliott wave. You can have all different kinds of triangles. You can also have extended flats. You can have standard flats. You can have contracting triangles. And you can have zigzags. And if you understand the behavior of a contracting triangle Elliott wave ABCDE, you would see that XRP is in one of them, and that the measured move of that extension would be to about 20. But we still have way more stuff we need to do here to start like saying, hey, look, this thing is complete. It would be like we're in of the ABC, like we're working on D right now. We still have like E and then breakout to go. So we're just not there. Let's get there before we start hooting and hollering about super upside price targets. But thank you, Chris. Howard said, this is a simulation. Yeah. The Fed is going to pause today. It is a simulation. Hope, you know what we can just hope for? Let's just hope for this, right? Let's hope that the Fed pauses and it causes, boom, explosion through all of it, right? Hot Tub Brian says, you are haunting my dreams now. 2 nights ago, I dreamed that you called me on my cell and said, I'm going to need you to hit those likes. I never miss a video or a stream, and it shows. Thanks, man. Oh, my dude. Hot Tub Brian, thank you. All right, guys, hit the likes, or I will phone call you and annoy you in the middle of your sleep. Thank you, Brian. Esteban says, hey, brother, have you started nibbling into Pepe? I haven't nibbled into Pepe. I've been nibbling on other stuff. I was up late last night nibbling at the market. They were more of like chunky little bites, too. The thing I'm waiting on with the market to like go all in, right? So I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to almost pull the plug on all in. But like there's certain things I'm looking for, like typically, and so I don't know if it's going to come or not, is that when you have these types of, this isn't, I don't want Algorand. I'm not buying Algorand, by the way. I know a lot of people want it. I don't want it. So like I've been recording my course, right? And there's going to be one section in there where it's like talking about what coins did well, what coins did poorly in 2019 through 2021, and how that was vastly different from 2017. And we've talked about it. And then we show how the numbers were vastly different in 2017 or in 2019 to 2021 than 2015 to 2017. And to say, okay, well, they kind of have to accept that this market dynamic has changed. And then trying to decipher what were things to help improve odds. And one of those things to help improve odds was really avoiding things that were having massive developer decline. And so I know there's a lot of like fans around Algorand, so I'm not here to like stomp on them because I'm not here to hurt any community. But Algorand has like one of the biggest developer declines going on. And just if you look back to 2019 to 2021, which I've run all the numbers for the course, you don't want to be in something like that. So I'm not buying Algorand. So like the thing with Atom, right? So like we have talked about this week. So I'm going to talk about this one just because it's familiar. This is one that the SEC has deemed a security last week, by the way. So take that for what it's worth. So Wyckoff Spring, what do you have? You have your creek phase, and then we have our spring happening right in here, right? So I'm willing to nibble at this right here. But the thing is about most springs, most capitulations, is that they look like this. This is what most bottoms look like. It's that first fake convincing bounce that comes off the lows, and then you smash the low one time. That is normally what happens in most bottoms, is that the first like convincing bounce off the bottom is not the real bottom. And there is one more push down to go, but that's the one to go. So if this market gives one last push down like this, I'm all in here. And that's for my particular list that I have built already, where I've gone through a lot of data and made a lot of decisions on what my list is. And, comparing that to 2019, where were the mistakes made in 2019? How to avoid those here in 2023? And so I have my list built, and I'm willing to nibble at my list right now and take some chunks out of it. But for me to kind of go nasty at that list, I'm just looking for one new low. Give me one new low. I'll go completely YOLO on everything. And at that point, so here's the problem with Pepe. It doesn't follow any of the rules that I have set for what my list is. But I am setting aside a little bit of money for the stupid plays. And I put Pepe in the stupid play. So it's not going to be like I'm saying, this is the future of crypto and it deserves 5% of my money. Definitely not. But I'll play in the playground. I'm not ready to play in it yet with Pepe. Not there. I would need deeper discounts. And that would just be to play around and goof off. It wouldn't be anything serious. Thank you, Esteban. Mr. Q. All right, I got to go faster. Hey, BCB. Thanks. Mr. Q says, hey, BCB, thanks for all your hard work. Really appreciate it. I was skeptical about the XRP breakout because XRP always goes last at alt season. PS, DXY is down. You ready to pull up the DXY? Thank you, Mr. Q. Yeah, and so the thing about XRP, too, is that, well, it didn't really matter where we're at right now because there's still another massive one up ahead of us. So anybody counting their chickens or before they hatch or counting their eggs before they hatch, right here. And if this is your first time going back through a workup in the market, this is the first one, right? And we talked about this yesterday, right? And you've got more to go up, right? You've got to keep working your way all the way up. And this struggle will continue to go on at different price levels all the way until you get out. So just getting through one is really just that. It's getting through that particular price level to get to the next. Then you've got a whole lot more working that you have to do. Then you've got to get to the next one. You have a whole lot more working that you have to do. So even the breakout from there, being concerned that if it's going for its full-fledged run just yet, I would agree. But it doesn't mean we can't shift up to a new level. You know what I mean? It just means we're not quite in a bull yet. All right. Thank you, Mr. Q. Member for 2 months. Sebastian Barrow says, in an annoying voice, a friend of my sister's boyfriend's second cousin said that the Fed is going to raise 75 basis points and XRP is dead. Yeah, whenever anybody is like that, or it's like your long lost half sister or your cousin or your niece texts you and say, hey, crypto's popular, I want to buy Doge, I saw Elon Musk is going on Saturday Night Live, so I'm gonna day trade it. Like, oh my gosh, we're done. Right? Everybody put that in your back pocket for next time. The second you are getting text messages from all these people and they're like YOLO, like they are not people who typically are in crypto and they want to know how to get into what you're in, it's over, man. Howard, thank you, says, I don't know what that is. Ultimate bug out. Real Dead Tapa ultimate bug out. All right, well, thank you, man. Thank you, Howard. Consumer to blockchain solutions. So what's going on, man? Hey, do you have any concerns with how much XRP Ripple has with the escrow and executives to not have any incentive for price appreciation? Yep. I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise that I feel that way. And I'm doing my best not to be the negative Nancy about that. I'm like one of the very few content creators who's vocal about that. The only person who's not, who's like that as well is Green Eggs and Sam. You will find very few people who will touch it with a 10-foot pole that Chris Larson sold $453 million worth of XRP onto retail investor exchanges between 2017 and 2020. And that Brad Garlinghouse sold $163 million worth of XRP on exchanges to retail investors between 2017 to 2020. And that comes out to $41 million per year for Brad Garlinghouse, and that comes out to $115 million per year for Chris Larson. Oh, he deserves it. He's a CEO. He's wonderful. He's the CEO of a tech startup, right? The CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon. $34.5 million per year if he hits all of his bonuses. His salary is $1 million. His bonus structure is $33.5 million. If he hits all of them, which we always assume he always does, right? $35 million. Brad Garlinghouse making $41 million at a tech startup. Chris Larson making $115 million per year at a tech startup, selling the digital asset onto retail investors on exchanges. Okay. Like, I'm vocal about that. I'm not entirely cool with that. You know what I mean? So, to each their own, right? I'm hoping in the court order that gets addressed, right? Whether that has to stop or there has to be more transparency. You can't say, look at this hand, right? Look at Ripple, look at the escrow, look at this hand, while this other hand's over here doing something else, right? And that's kind of what happened, or the way the appearances of it. So my thoughts are, it just, is XRP a security? No. Is Ripple treating it as a security? Maybe it's up in the air, right? I think that's a tough one. I think the interesting things will be about with Brad and with Chris. Maybe they'll, the lawyer John Deaton says they're in scot-free, so I have to say, okay, I have no clue. It sounds like they're all good. But the reality is those numbers are huge. And you will find most content creators will not touch with the 10-foot pole the fact that Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson sold that much XRP, because it does not fit the branding of the messaging of the content. Pro Ripple, we love Ripple. Ripple is great. Ripple's going to save the world. Pointing out those particular facts does not help, or they have to spin it in a positive light. The numbers are astronomical. They're more than JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, and it was all sold to retail investors. So, there we go. I've always been straightforward with that. You guys have chosen to still continue to love me after I've stated that, but I've held that position for 2.5 years that I disapprove of it. So hopefully that gets addressed. Oscar Hernandez, my dude, he says, when in doubt, zoom out. Kevin Cage. There you go. Yeah, man. You should have seen the people yesterday. They're on the 1-minute chart. Gator, what's up, man? Oh boy, you guys went on a roll there. Oh, thank you guys. Gator gifted 5 blockchain backer memberships. Thank you. Then Sick Thinker did. Thank you very much. And then Oscar did. Oscar gifted 1. Thank you very much, Oscar. And Pat, you gifted 5 as well. Thank you very much. You guys killing it. You guys always do that. You go on those little runs. Thank you. The Funishin Cornet says, happy Wednesday, bros. Hit those likes, guys. Taylor McLaughlin. But yeah, I agree with Definition Cornet's response there. Thank you very much. Saying hit the likes. I agree with that. Taylor McLaughlin says, wouldn't it make more sense for crypto to run and top with the NASDAQ? If NASDAQ is topping, how do you see crypto running in the next few months, right? So question is, does it top here? Which actually looks like NASDAQ is actually getting a little bit of a break there. Looks like we're through 702 for NASDAQ. We can pause here for a long time and you can have huge rotational shifts happen in a market. I think we've seen that happen over there for the Dow Jones, as it's now been sitting here for going on 6 months, right? So it's been sitting here for 6 months. So then there can be rotational shifts of price action of what happens in markets. So what have we noticed that has happened here in the NASDAQ? It's all big tech. It's all big stuff that has gone up and the rest of the market hasn't gone up with it. So just as we get here doesn't mean we head straight back down immediately. It's concerning that it could, but just because we get here doesn't mean it does immediately. You could have a pause out with a massive rotational shift of equity in the market. Liquidity, that's the word I'm looking for. Liquidity within the market. And that's the thing I'd be looking for. The best case scenario, if you can go set that new high and go hit that 4.236 extension. But dear goodness, caution here. I mean, these are the recipes for the end of times of stock markets. Thank you, Taylor. Sydney says, or is it Sidney? 100 or 1,000 views right on the 702 fib retrace. What are the chances? Oh, dude, there you go. How about that? 1,000 videos on the day of hitting the 702 retracement and on the day of the Fed pausing the cycle, right? It's a simulation. You can't prove me anything otherwise. All right. Oscar, thank you. Oscar says, smash the likes. Thank you, Oscar. Share your list, please. No, I'm not going to share my list right now, JR Flight. Thank you, though. Oscar Hernandez says, spank the like button. Crypto Keeper says, and not to mention however much Jeb made selling issues. I think it was billions of dollars for Jeb McCaleb. So the Ripple company did, the Ripple people did pretty good, right? So we'll see, man. You know, I'm not looking for a perfect ruling. I'm just looking for a just ruling. XRP set us free from our shackles, and hopefully something happens to where it is no longer look at this hand while this other hand's doing something else. Right. I don't mind. And here's the reality. I don't mind CEOs making having it and being part of their comp plans and stuff like that. But when you're not disclosing it, and when you're looking at an exorbitant amount of money, Chris Larson, $453 million over 3 years, 4 years. Come on. That ain't. Who in their right mind, ask me this, who in their right mind would get that lump of money and then still continue to work and care about anything? I'm telling you, man, put 20 million in my lap. I'm not going to care anymore. I'm going to chill. I'm going to enjoy time and live my life. You know, put $450 million. And these numbers are so big, we can't even wrap our head around what that would really feel like. We have no clue. 450 million literally means you never worry about money ever again in your whole life. $450 million is the stuff you hear about Super Bowl or whatever the lotto tickets are, super jackpot lotto winners when it makes it to the news. Did you hear the jackpot's up to $450 million? Gosh. You know. Anyway, I've always held that view. It's not a secret. We'll see how things shake out. Otherwise, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. I will be on the Good Morning Crypto Show over there on 3T Warrior Academy in about 30 minutes from right now, so you can catch me over there. And I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, guys. I'm not going to be able to hang out in the chat today because I do have to go do stuff. Normally, every day we hang out in the chat afterwards, guys. I'll say hi, but I got to run before the 5-minute clock kicks us. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Oh, wait, I missed one. Definition Cornet says it's pronounced definition. Boom, definition Cornet. I'll try to be more active in the chats. Haven't missed a vid in a couple years now. Love all you guys. Love this place. Awesome. Definitive definition. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, especially on a Wednesday...
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday, dudes.
Then just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one, guys.